Marcus Chen wiped the sweat from his forehead as he guided his salvage ship through the asteroid field. The metal detector was going crazy, beeping like an angry robot. After 3 months of finding nothing but space junk, this looked promising. Finally, he muttered, steering toward a massive asteroid that looked like it had been carved by giant claws. The readings were off the charts. Whatever was inside that rock was worth a fortune. Marcus had been a salvage operator for 8 years, ever since the war ended. Most humans avoided the Outer Rim territories now. Too dangerous, they said. Too many angry alien species who blamed Earth for the galaxy-wide conflict. But Marcus needed the money. His sister's medical bills weren't going to pay themselves. As he got closer to the asteroid, his ship's computer started making warning sounds. The screen showed massive energy signatures coming from deep inside the rock. Marcus frowned. Energy signatures meant technology, and technology meant someone might still be alive in there. He docked his ship to the asteroid's surface and put on his environmental suit. The walk to the cave entrance took 20 minutes across the rough, cratered surface. His boots crunched on the strange purple dust that covered everything. The cave mouth was huge, easily 50 feet tall. Marcus turned on his helmet lights and stepped inside. The walls were smooth, too smooth to be natural. Someone had definitely carved this place out. Strange symbols covered the walls, glowing faintly in the darkness. Marcus recognized those symbols. His blood ran cold. They were Drakmarian, dragon people, the most feared species in the galaxy. During the war, the Drakmarians had been humanity's worst enemy. They were 12 feet tall, covered in scales harder than steel, and could breathe fire hot enough to melt starship hulls. Their claws could tear through battle armor like paper. When they roared, the sound could shatter glass from a mile away. Everyone knew the stories. Drakmarian raiders burning human colonies. Drakmarian warships turning entire space stations into floating graveyards. Children across human space still had nightmares about the dragon people coming to get them. But the war had been over for 5 years. The peace treaty said both sides would stay in their own territories. So what was a Drakmarian site doing way out here in neutral space? Marcus almost turned around and left. Almost. But the energy readings were still showing massive, valuable technology deeper in the cave. He needed that money too badly to walk away now. He pressed deeper into the tunnel. The walls got smoother, and the symbols got brighter. After walking for 10 minutes, he heard something that made him freeze. Crying, not human crying. Something else, high-pitched and desperate like baby birds calling for their mother. The sound echoed off the cave walls, making it impossible to tell where it was coming from. Marcus followed the sound deeper into the cave. His heart was pounding so hard he could hear it inside his helmet. Every instinct told him to run, but something about that crying pulled him forward. The tunnel opened into a massive chamber. Marcus gasped when his lights revealed what was inside. It was a nursery. The walls were covered in soft, glowing moss that gave off gentle light. The floor was lined with large, cushioned nests made from some kind of metallic fabric. Strange machines hummed quietly in the corners, probably keeping the air clean and the temperature stable. And in the center of the chamber were 3 baby dragons. They were about the size of large dogs, covered in scales that shifted between deep blue and silver in the light. Their wings were folded against their backs, still too small for flying. When they saw Marcus, they backed away, making frightened, squeaking sounds. One of them was clearly sick. It lay on its side, breathing heavily. Its scales had lost their shine and its eyes were cloudy. The other 2 kept nudging it with their noses, trying to get it to stand up. Marcus stood perfectly still, afraid to move. Baby dragons were still dragons. Even small ones could probably bite his hand off. But as he watched them, he realized something strange. They weren't attacking him. They weren't breathing fire or roaring or doing any of the terrifying things adult Drakmarians did. They were just scared babies, alone and hungry. Where were their parents? Marcus looked around the chamber more carefully. In one corner, he found his answer. 2 adult Drakmarian bodies lay motionless behind a collapsed section of wall. They were huge, even bigger than the ones he'd seen in war footage. But they weren't scary now. They just looked like parents who had died protecting their children. The cave-in must have happened recently, maybe a few days ago. The babies had been trapped here ever since, with no one to take care of them. Marcus felt something twist in his chest. He had seen plenty of horrible things during the war. Burned cities, destroyed ships, dead soldiers from both sides. But there was something about these helpless baby creatures that hit him differently. The sick one made a weak crying sound. It was getting worse. Marcus knew he should leave. Every human in the galaxy would call him crazy for even thinking about helping Drakmarian young. These babies would grow up to be the same terrifying warriors that had killed thousands of humans. The smart thing to do was walk away and pretend he never found this place. But as he looked at the 3 frightened babies, he couldn't make his feet move toward the exit. The healthy babies were trying to share their food with the sick one, pushing small pieces of some kind of glowing fruit toward its mouth. When it was too weak to eat, they lay down next to it, using their body heat to keep it warm. They were taking care of each other. Marcus had spent 5 years hating the Drakmarians. They were monsters, everyone said. Savage beasts who only understood violence. But these babies were showing more compassion than most humans he knew. He made a decision that would change everything. Marcus slowly reached into his supply pack and pulled out an emergency medical scanner. The babies watched nervously as he approached the sick one. When he knelt down beside it, the other 2 positioned themselves protectively nearby, but they didn't attack. The scanner showed severe dehydration and malnutrition. The baby dragon was dying. Marcus looked at the 3 small faces watching him. In their large golden eyes, he saw something he hadn't expected to find: hope. "Okay, little ones," he whispered. "Let's see what we can do." Marcus worked quickly but carefully. The sick baby dragon was barely breathing, its small chest rising and falling in shallow gasps. He had some basic medical supplies in his pack, but nothing designed for alien biology. First, he tried water. The baby's eyes followed the water bottle as he brought it close. When a few drops touched its lips, it tried to lift its head to drink more. That was a good sign. Marcus supported the baby's head while it drank slowly. The other 2 dragons watched every move he made. They seemed to understand he was trying to help, but they stayed ready to protect their sibling if needed. After the sick baby had drunk enough water, Marcus pulled out a nutrition bar from his emergency supplies. He broke off tiny pieces and offered them. The baby dragon sniffed the food carefully, then ate small bites. Its strength seemed to return a little with each swallow. While he fed the sick one, the other 2 babies crept closer. They were curious about this strange creature who had wandered into their home. The bolder of the 2, with bright silver scales, actually sniffed Marcus's gloved hand. "Easy there," Marcus whispered. "I'm not going to hurt you." The silver baby made a soft chirping sound. It almost sounded like a question. Marcus spent the next few hours taking care of all 3 babies. He shared his water and food supplies, checked them for injuries, and tried to make them more comfortable. The cave was cold, so he activated small heat packs from his survival kit and placed them around the nest area. As he worked, Marcus found himself talking to the babies. It felt natural, like talking to any frightened animals. He told them about his ship, about how he had found them, about how their parents had protected them even when the cave collapsed. The babies seemed to understand the tone of his voice, even if they couldn't understand the words. When he spoke gently, they relaxed. When he moved slowly and carefully, they trusted him more. By the end of the day, the sick baby was sitting up and eating on its own. The other 2 had started playing again, chasing each other around the chamber and making happy, chirping sounds. But Marcus had a problem. His ship only had enough supplies for 1 person on a short salvage run. He had already used most of his water and half his food. The babies were clearly feeling better, but they couldn't survive alone in this cave for much longer. He tried to contact the nearest space station on his radio, but all he got was static. They were too far out in the asteroid field for normal communications to work. Marcus sat on a piece of rubble and watched the 3 babies explore their home. They moved with natural grace even as youngsters. Their scales caught the light from the glowing moss, creating beautiful patterns. When they played together, they were actually quite cute. It was hard to believe these innocent creatures would grow up to be the terrifying Drakmarian warriors from the war stories. The silver baby approached Marcus and sat down next to him. It was still cautious, but not afraid anymore. When Marcus held out his hand, the baby sniffed it again, then gently touched his glove with its nose. "You're not what I expected," Marcus said quietly. The baby tilted its head, studying Marcus with intelligent golden eyes. Then it made a soft sound, almost like a purr. Marcus made a decision. He couldn't leave the babies here to die, but he also couldn't take care of them properly with his limited supplies. He needed to get them somewhere safe. The problem was, where could he take 3 baby dragons? No human station would accept them. The war might be over, but the fear and hatred ran deep on both sides. If Marcus showed up anywhere in human space with Drakmarian young, he would probably be arrested as a traitor. But maybe there was another option. Marcus remembered reading about neutral trading posts in this sector, places where different species could meet and do business without the politics and prejudices of their home worlds. If he could reach one of those stations, maybe he could find someone to help. He pulled out his navigation computer and searched for the nearest neutral port. There was one called Haven Station about 2 days away. It was run by the Kalari, a peaceful species known for taking in refugees and outcasts. It was worth a try. Marcus gathered his remaining supplies and tried to figure out how to transport 3 baby dragons safely. They were too big to fit in his emergency escape pods, and he couldn't trust them to just wander around his ship unsecured. The silver baby seemed to sense his concern. It chirped to get his attention, then walked over to one of the machines in the corner of the chamber. The machine was about the size of a large refrigerator, with a smooth silver surface covered in Drakmarian symbols. The baby touched one of the symbols with its claw. The machine opened, revealing 3 small compartments lined with soft material. Each compartment was just the right size for a baby dragon. Transport pods, Marcus realized. Your parents made these to keep you safe during travel. He examined the machine more carefully. It seemed to be powered by the same energy source that was lighting the cave. There were control panels with symbols he couldn't read, but some of the indicators looked universal enough to understand. Marcus spent an hour figuring out how the transport pods worked. They seemed designed to keep the babies comfortable and safe during space travel. There were life support systems, artificial gravity generators, and even what looked like entertainment systems to keep young dragons occupied. The Drakmarians might be fierce warriors, but they clearly loved their children. When Marcus activated the transport pods, all 3 babies climbed into them without fear. They seemed to recognize the technology and trust it completely. The silver baby even chirped happily as its pod sealed shut. Marcus carefully loaded the 3 pods onto a cargo sled and began the long journey back to his ship. The pods were heavier than he expected, but his powered exoskeleton could handle the weight. As he walked through the cave tunnels, Marcus thought about what he was doing. He was risking everything to save 3 alien babies that most humans would consider enemies. If anyone found out, his career would be over. He might even face criminal charges. But every time he looked at the transport pods and heard the soft sounds the babies made inside, he knew he was doing the right thing. When they reached his ship, Marcus carefully loaded the pods into his cargo bay. He made sure they were secured properly for space travel, then began plotting a course for Haven Station. As his ship lifted off from the asteroid, Marcus took one last look at the carved cave entrance. Somewhere in there, 2 Drakmarian parents lay buried under tons of rock. They had died protecting their children, just like any human parents would. Maybe the dragons weren't so different from humans after all. The journey to Haven Station would take 2 days. Marcus settled in for the trip, checking on the baby dragons every few hours. They seemed comfortable in their transport pods, sleeping most of the time, but Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that rescuing the babies was just the beginning. Something told him that these 3 small dragons were going to change his life in ways he couldn't imagine. Haven Station appeared on Marcus's view screen like a metal flower blooming in space. The neutral trading post was built from hundreds of different ship designs welded together over the decades. Ships from dozens of species docked at its many ports, creating a rainbow of hull colors and exotic engine designs. Marcus had never been to a place like this before. During the war, humans rarely ventured into neutral territory. It was too risky, and most human colonies were suspicious of anyone who did business with alien species. But looking at the diverse collection of ships around Haven Station, Marcus felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Hope. "This is Haven Station Control," a calm voice said over the radio. The translator in Marcus's communication system identified the speaker as Kalari. "Please state your business and cargo manifest." Marcus hesitated. "How do you explain that your cargo is 3 baby dragons?" "This is the salvage vessel Lucky Strike," he replied. "I'm carrying 3 Drakmarian juveniles in need of medical attention and safe transport." There was a long pause. Marcus could imagine the confusion at Haven Station's control center. "Please repeat your last transmission," the Kalari controller said. Did you say Drachmarian juveniles? That's correct. I found them abandoned in an asteroid cave. Their parents are dead. The babies need help. Another pause, longer this time. Marcus watched his scanners nervously, half expecting to see security ships moving to intercept him. Stand by, the controller said finally. We're arranging a special docking bay for you. 20 minutes later, Marcus was guiding his ship into a large, isolated docking bay deep inside the station. As soon as his ship powered down, he saw a group of beings waiting outside. Most were Kalari, tall and graceful with pale blue skin and large, dark eyes. But there were others too. A massive rock-like Gorlan, 2 insectoid Thrix with their gleaming carapaces, even a few species Marcus didn't recognize. The bay doors sealed behind his ship, and Marcus heard the hiss of atmosphere being pumped in. A few minutes later, the airlock light turned green. Marcus opened his cargo bay and carefully moved the 3 transport pods onto the loading platform. The babies had been quiet during the docking procedure, but now they were making soft sounds inside their pods. The Kalari delegation approached slowly. Their leader was an elderly female with intricate silver tattoos covering her arms. Her large eyes studied the transport pods with intense curiosity. "I am Dr. Senna Valeris," she said in accented but clear standard. "I oversee medical operations for Haven Station. This is unprecedented." "I know how it looks," Marcus said. "But these babies were dying. I couldn't just leave them." Dr. Valeris activated a portable scanner and ran it over the transport pods. Her eyebrows rose as she read the results. "The life signs are strong," she said. "And these transport pods are remarkable technology. They're monitoring everything from brain activity to digestive function." One of the other Kalari, a younger male with green tattoos, stepped forward. "Doctor, are you certain this is wise? The Drachmarians have not been seen in this sector since the war ended. Their government might consider this an act of aggression. Or they might be grateful," Dr. Valeris replied. "We won't know until we try." She turned to Marcus. "What exactly happened? How did you find them?" Marcus told the story of discovering the cave, finding the dead parents, and nursing the sick baby back to health. As he spoke, he watched the faces of the beings around him. Some looked skeptical. Others seemed moved by his account. "You risked a great deal," Dr. Valeris said when he finished. "Many humans would have seen Drachmarian young as a threat to be eliminated, not children to be rescued." "They're just babies," Marcus said. "Scared, hungry babies who lost their parents. Species doesn't matter when you're looking at something like that." The transport pods made soft beeping sounds. Inside, the baby dragons were becoming restless. "We should move them to the medical bay," Dr. Valeris said. "They need proper examination and care." The medical bay at Haven Station was unlike anything Marcus had ever seen. It was designed to treat dozens of different species, with equipment that could adapt to various alien biologies. The walls were lined with tanks containing different atmospheric mixtures, and the air itself could be adjusted for optimal breathing conditions. Dr. Valeris and her team carefully transferred the baby dragons to specialized examination tables. As soon as the transport pods opened, the 3 babies huddled together, nervous about their new surroundings. The silver baby, who seemed to be the leader of the group, spotted Marcus across the room and made an excited chirping sound. It clearly recognized him as the one who had helped them. "Fascinating," Dr. Valeris murmured as she ran her scanners over the babies. "Their physiology is remarkably advanced for their age. The regenerative capabilities alone are extraordinary." Marcus watched as the medical team worked. The babies were still nervous, but they seemed to sense that these new beings were trying to help them. When one of the Kalari medical assistants offered them food, they ate eagerly. "They're healthy," Dr. Valeris announced after completing her examination. "Slightly undernourished, but nothing that proper care won't fix. The one you said was sick has made a complete recovery." "What happens now?" Marcus asked. "That's complicated," Dr. Valeris admitted. "Officially, we should contact the Drachmarian government and arrange for the young to be returned. But the Drachmarian territories are weeks away, and communication with their government has been difficult since the war." The young Kalari male from earlier spoke up. "There are rumors that the Drachmarian Empire has been fractured since the war ended. Internal conflicts, territorial disputes. Some say their government has collapsed entirely." Dr. Valeris frowned. "Which means these babies might have nowhere to go." Marcus felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. He had assumed that getting the babies to safety was the hard part. He hadn't considered what would happen if their own people couldn't take them back. There might be another option, a new voice said from the medical bay entrance. Everyone turned to see a figure in the doorway that made Marcus's heart skip a beat. It was a Drachmarian, an adult Drachmarian, nearly 12 feet tall, covered in dark green scales that gleamed under the medical bay lights. But this Drachmarian was different from the warriors Marcus remembered from the war. This one wore the brown robes of a civilian, and its posture was relaxed rather than aggressive. Most surprisingly, its eyes showed no hostility when they focused on Marcus. "I am Corvash Thane," the Drachmarian said in a deep, rumbling voice. "I represent a group of my people who have chosen to live in neutral space rather than return to the Empire's territories." The 3 baby dragons heard the familiar voice and immediately became excited. They chirped and squeaked, trying to get Corvash's attention. Corvash approached the examination table slowly, speaking to the babies in the Drachmarian language. Their response was immediate and joyful. Even without understanding the words, Marcus could tell they felt safe with this adult of their own species. "These are not just any hatchlings," Corvash said, switching back to standard. "Look at their scale patterns, the silver markings on their necks." Dr. Valeris examined the babies more closely. "What do those markings mean?" "They indicate noble lineage," Corvash explained. "These are the children of Clan Nethys, one of the most respected families in Drachmarian society. Lord Vorthak Nethys and his mate Serena were explorers and scientists, not warriors." Marcus felt pieces of a puzzle clicking together in his mind. "That explains the cave. It wasn't a military outpost. It was a research station." "Exactly," Corvash confirmed. "Lord Vorthak was studying ancient artifacts in this sector. He and his mate must have been killed when the asteroid field shifted, but they protected their young until the very end." The Drachmarian turned to Marcus, and there was something like gratitude in his large golden eyes. "You have done something remarkable, human. You saved the last members of one of our most honored bloodlines." "I just did what anyone would do," Marcus said, though he knew that wasn't true. "No," Corvash said firmly. "What you did required courage, compassion, and wisdom. These qualities are rare in any species." Dr. Valeris cleared her throat. "Mr. Corvash, are you able to care for these young? Do you have the resources?" "My community would be honored to raise them," Corvash replied. "But there is something else to consider. By saving these hatchlings, this human has created a debt of honor that my people take very seriously." Marcus didn't like the sound of that. "I don't want any reward. I just wanted to help." "Which is exactly why you deserve one," Corvash said with what might have been a smile. "But the reward I speak of is not wealth or status. It is something far more valuable." Marcus spent 3 days at Haven Station while Corvash made arrangements for the baby dragons. During that time, he learned things about the Drachmarians that completely changed his understanding of their species. Corvash's community lived on a converted space station in the Outer Rim. They were refugees in a way, dragons who had grown tired of the endless wars and conflicts that plagued their home territories. They wanted to live in peace, pursuing science and art instead of conquest. "Many of my people believe the war changed us for the worse," Corvash explained as they watched the baby dragons play in a specially prepared habitat. "We became so focused on being fierce warriors that we forgot how to be anything else." The 3 babies had bonded quickly with Corvash and the other Drachmarians who came to visit them. But they still remembered Marcus. Whenever he entered the room, the silver baby would chirp excitedly and try to climb on him. "They know you saved them," Corvash said. "Dragons have excellent memories. These hatchlings will remember your kindness for the rest of their lives." Marcus scratched behind the silver baby's ear ridge, making it purr contentedly. "What will happen to them now?" "They will be raised by our community," Corvash replied. "Taught our history, our culture, our values. But they will also learn about the human who risked everything to save them. Your example will help shape the kind of dragons they become." On the 3rd day, Marcus was preparing to leave when Dr. Valeris approached him with news that changed everything. "We've been monitoring galactic communication networks," she said, her expression serious. "There's been a development in the Drachmarian territories." She led Marcus to the station's communication center, where screens displayed news feeds from across the galaxy. The main screen showed footage of massive Drachmarian fleets moving through space. "Civil war," Dr. Valeris explained. "The Drachmarian Empire has split into 3 factions, each claiming to be the rightful government. They've been fighting for months. Marcus watched the images of burning space stations and wrecked ships. This is what Corvash meant about the Empire fracturing. It gets worse, Dr. Valeris continued. One of the factions, led by someone called War Master Grimthorn, has declared that all Drakmarians living in neutral space are traitors. He's sending fleets to capture or kill them. Marcus felt ice form in his stomach. Corvash's community is directly in the path of Grimthorn's largest fleet, Dr. Valeris confirmed. They have maybe a week before the warships arrive. Marcus found Corvash in the habitat with the baby dragons. The adult Drakmarian was teaching them how to use their claws properly, showing them how to grip and manipulate objects without breaking them. You've heard, Corvash said when he saw Marcus's expression. Dr. Valeris told me about Grimthorn. You have to evacuate. Corvash's shoulders sagged. With what ships? We are scientists and artists, not warriors. We have a few old transport vessels. Nothing that could outrun a military fleet. What about Haven Station? Couldn't they help? Haven Station's neutrality is protected by treaty, Corvash explained. If they directly interfere in Drakmarian politics, they could lose their neutral status. Other species would stop coming here. They cannot risk it. Marcus watched the baby dragons playing, unaware that danger was approaching. The silver one was trying to teach the others a game, something involving stacking blocks with their claws. How many people are in your community? Marcus asked. 237 adults, 43 young ones, including these three, Corvash replied. Too many for the transport ships we have. Marcus thought about the cargo capacity of various ship types, calculating numbers in his head. An idea began to form, dangerous and probably impossible, but maybe their only chance. What if we could get you more ships? Corvash looked at him curiously. From where? No one will risk Grimthorn's anger to help Drakmarian refugees. Not Drakmarians, Marcus said slowly, but they might help humans. Over the next few hours, Marcus outlined his plan to Corvash and Dr. Valeris. It was risky and would require perfect timing, but it might work. Marcus would return to human space and contact every salvage operator, freight hauler, and independent trader he knew. He would tell them about a massive salvage opportunity in the Outer Rim. Derelict ships, abandoned stations, valuable cargo just floating in space waiting to be claimed. It wasn't entirely a lie. Grimthorn's fleet would leave plenty of wreckage behind. But why would they help once they learned the truth? Dr. Valeris asked. Because I'm going to show them something, Marcus replied. Something that will change how they think about Drakmarians. He pulled out his personal recording device, which had been running during his first encounter with the baby dragons. The footage showed him finding the babies, caring for them, watching them take care of each other. Humans have been told that Drakmarians are monsters, Marcus continued. But when people see this, when they see these babies being compassionate and playful and innocent, they'll realize we're not so different. Corvash was quiet for a long moment. You would risk your reputation, your career, perhaps even your freedom, to save strangers? They're not strangers anymore, Marcus said, looking at the three babies. And besides, someone has to be the first to try. Maybe it's time humans and Drakmarians stopped being enemies. Dr. Valeris nodded slowly. It could work, but you'll need more than just human ships. You'll need a place for the refugees to go, somewhere Grimthorn can't follow. I know a place, Marcus said. There's an old human research station in the Kepler Nebula. It was abandoned after the war, but the basic infrastructure is still there. The nebula's electromagnetic interference would hide them from most scanners. And you think the human government would allow Drakmarian refugees to settle there? Marcus grinned. I'm not going to ask the government. I'm going to ask the people. When humans see what's really at stake, when they understand that we have a chance to build something better than what came before, they'll surprise you. Corvash stood and placed a massive clawed hand on Marcus's shoulder. It should have been terrifying, but somehow it felt like a gesture of friendship. You have already surprised me, Marcus Chen, the Drakmarian said. Perhaps there is hope for both our species after all. Marcus left Haven Station that evening with the three baby dragons watching from the observation deck. The silver one pressed its face against the transparent aluminum, making sad chirping sounds as his ship departed. I'll see you again, Marcus promised, though he wasn't sure if that would be true. The journey back to human space took 4 days. Marcus used every minute to plan, to contact old friends and colleagues, to prepare for the biggest gamble of his life. When he finally reached the first human outpost, Marcus took a deep breath and activated his ship's communication array. It was time to find out if humans were ready to be better than their fears. He started with Jake Morrison, an old friend who ran a small freight company out of New Terra Station. "Jake, it's Marcus. I need to ask you something, and I need you to trust me. How would you like to be part of the most important rescue mission in galactic history?" The response came back a few minutes later, confused but intrigued. "Marcus, where the hell have you been? And what kind of rescue mission?" Marcus smiled and began uploading the video footage of the baby dragons. "Sit down, Jake. You're going to want to see this." Jake Morrison's first reaction was exactly what Marcus expected. "Are you completely insane?" Jake's voice crackled through the communication system. "You want me to help evacuate Drakmarians? Marcus, these are the same aliens who burned half the outer colonies during the war." "Just watch the video," Marcus replied calmly. "All of it. Then tell me what you think." There was silence for several minutes while Jake viewed the footage. Marcus had edited it carefully, showing the baby dragons' fear when he first found them, their compassion for their sick sibling, their trust as he cared for them. When Jake's voice came back, it was quieter. Those are just babies. Babies who would have died if someone hadn't helped them," Marcus said. "And now their entire community is about to be destroyed by a warmonger from their own species. They need our help, Jake. But Marcus, even if I wanted to help, my company can't handle something this big. We're talking about evacuating hundreds of people across hostile space." "You're right," Marcus agreed. "That's why I'm not just calling you. I'm calling everyone." Over the next 2 days, Marcus contacted every independent operator in human space. Freight haulers, salvage crews, exploration teams, anyone with a ship and the courage to use it. He sent each of them the same video footage and the same message. The responses varied wildly. Some people called him a traitor and cut communication immediately. Others were intrigued but worried about the risks. A few, like Jake, were moved by the footage but unsure if they could make a difference. But slowly, Marcus began to build a coalition. Sarah Kim, who ran a medical supply company, was the first to commit. "My daughter is about the same age as those baby dragons," she told Marcus. "If she was lost and scared, I'd want someone to help her, no matter what species they were." Then came Rodriguez Martinez, a salvage operator who had lost his brother in the war. "I hated dragons for 5 years," he said. "But hatred is exhausting. Maybe it's time to try something else." One by one, more people joined. Not all of them. Not even most of them, but enough. Engineers who could repair damaged stations. Pilots who knew the outer rim territories. Medics who could treat alien physiology. Within 48 hours, Marcus had assembled a volunteer fleet of 37 ships. But he needed one more thing to make the plan work. Official support. Marcus took his ship to Earth's orbital government complex, a massive station that served as the center of human administration. Getting an audience with anyone important would normally take weeks. But Marcus had something most petitioners didn't have. A story that could change everything. Administrator Sarah Chen, no relation despite the shared surname, was in charge of interspecies relations for the Earth government. She was a stern woman in her 60s who had spent most of her career managing the aftermath of the Galactic War. "Mr. Chen," she said when Marcus was finally granted a meeting, "I understand you've been organizing some kind of unauthorized military operation." "Not military," Marcus corrected. "Humanitarian. We're evacuating civilians who are about to be caught in a civil war." "Drakmarian civilians," Administrator Chen replied coldly. "Mr. Chen, I hope you understand the political implications of what you're suggesting. Earth has worked very hard to maintain peace with the Drakmarian Empire. If we interfere in their internal conflict—" "What empire?" Marcus interrupted. "According to our intelligence, there is no unified Drakmarian government anymore. Just warlords fighting over territory." He activated a holographic display and showed Administrator Chen the footage from Haven Station. Not just the baby dragons, but intelligence reports about the Civil War, fleet movements, casualty estimates. "War Master Grimthorn's faction represents everything we fought against during the war," Marcus continued. "Military supremacy, conquest, the belief that might makes right. The refugees we want to save represent something different. They chose peace over war, cooperation over conquest." Administrator Chen studied the data carefully. "Even if I agreed with your assessment, Mr. Chen, I cannot authorize an official government operation. The political risks are too great. I'm not asking for an official operation, Marcus said. I'm asking for you to look the other way while private citizens exercise their right to help refugees in neutral space. And if Grimthorn's fleet attacks your volunteers? Marcus had been dreading this question. Then we'll deal with that when it happens. Administrator Chen was quiet for a long moment, studying the footage of the baby dragons. These young ones, they're really just children, aren't they? Yes, ma'am. Children who lost their parents and would have died alone if someone hadn't helped them. And you believe this rescue operation could change relations between our species? I think it's our best chance to break the cycle of fear and hatred that's defined both our peoples for too long, Marcus replied. Someone has to be first to extend trust. Why not us? Administrator Chen made her decision. Officially, the Earth government cannot support this operation. Unofficially, it seems our outer rim patrol schedules have developed some unfortunate gaps in coverage. Our ships will be conducting training exercises in the inner system for the next 2 weeks. Marcus felt relief flood through him. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Administrator Chen warned. If this goes wrong, if people die, the political consequences will be severe. For all of us. Marcus left Earth with mixed emotions. He had the unofficial support he needed, but the weight of responsibility was enormous. 37 ship crews were putting their lives on the line based on his promise that it was the right thing to do. The rendezvous point was an abandoned mining station 3 days from Drakmarian space. As Marcus arrived, he was amazed to see ships from across human territory gathered together. Sleek corporate vessels, battle-scarred salvage ships, converted passenger liners, even a few old military surplus craft that had been sold to civilian operators. Jake Morrison's freight hauler was among them, and Marcus felt a surge of gratitude for his old friend's support. Hell of a thing you've started here, Jake said when Marcus docked with the mining station. Half these people have never worked together before. You sure this is going to work? Marcus looked out at the assembled fleet, thinking about the 3 baby dragons and the Drakmarian community that was counting on them. It has to work. The fleet commanders gathered in the station's conference room to finalize the plan. Marcus spread out holographic star charts showing Corvash's community, Grimthorn's approaching fleet, and the evacuation route to the Kepler Nebula. Timing is everything, Marcus explained. Grimthorn's fleet will reach the refugee station in 4 days. We need to evacuate everyone and be gone before they arrive. Sarah Kim raised her hand. What about resistance? Are we expecting the refugees to fight Grimthorn's forces? No, Marcus replied. Corvash's people are civilians. They have a few defensive weapons, but nothing that could stop a military fleet. That's why we have to get them out before the fighting starts. Rodriguez Martinez leaned forward. And if Grimthorn's ships catch us during the evacuation? Marcus had been dreading this question too. Then we hope they're more interested in conquering territory than chasing refugees. Our ships are fast and maneuverable. Theirs are built for ship-to-ship combat. That's a pretty big gamble, someone muttered. Everything about this is a gamble, Marcus admitted, but it's the right thing to do. These people chose peace over war. They deserve a chance to live. The room was quiet as the ship commanders considered the risks. Finally, Jake Morrison stood up. I've been thinking about something, Marcus said, Jake announced, about someone needing to be first to extend trust. My brother died fighting Drakmarians, and I've carried that anger for 5 years. But maybe it's time to honor his memory by building something better than what he died defending. One by one, the other commanders voiced their agreement. They were scared, but they were committed. As the meeting broke up, Marcus pulled Jake aside. Thank you. I know this isn't easy, Jake shrugged. Nothing worthwhile ever is. Besides, I keep thinking about those baby dragons. They remind me of my own kids when they were small. Innocent, trusting, just wanting someone to keep them safe. The fleet departed the mining station the next morning. 37 ships carrying supplies, medical equipment, and hope across the void toward an uncertain future. Marcus led the formation in his salvage ship, the same vessel that had brought him to the asteroid cave where everything began. As they jumped to hyperspace, Marcus sent a message to Corvash at Haven Station. We're coming. Hold on just a little longer. The Drakmarian refugee station appeared on Marcus's screens like a work of art floating in space. Unlike the brutal angular warships he remembered from the conflict, this station was graceful and organic-looking. Its hull curved in smooth lines that reminded him of seashells, and soft lights glowed from its windows like warm candle flames. It's beautiful, Sarah Kim whispered over the communication channel. Marcus had to agree. The station looked nothing like a military installation. Gardens were visible through transparent sections of the hull, and what appeared to be sculpture galleries lined the outer rings. These were people who valued beauty and peace over weapons and conquest. Marcus, Korvash's voice came through the radio, relief evident even through the translation software. You actually came. I told you I would, Marcus replied. How much time do we have? Grimthorn's advanced scouts were detected 6 hours ago. His main fleet will arrive in approximately 18 hours. Marcus felt his stomach clench. They had less time than expected. All ships, this is Marcus, he broadcast to the rescue fleet. We're moving to emergency evacuation protocols. Every minute counts now. The next few hours were controlled chaos. Human and Drakmarian crews worked together to transfer people and essential supplies from the station to the rescue ships. Marcus watched in amazement as species that had been enemies just years ago cooperated with remarkable efficiency. The baby dragons were among the first to be evacuated, transferred to Marcus's ship in their familiar transport pods. When the pods opened in his cargo bay, the silver baby immediately chirped with excitement and tried to climb onto Marcus's shoulders. Missed me, did you? Marcus said, scratching behind the baby's ear ridges. All three dragons seemed healthy and happy, but he could sense their confusion about all the activity around them. Korvash boarded Marcus's ship along with the babies. They have bonded with you, the adult Drakmarian observed. It is remarkable. Usually our young are wary of other species. Maybe they're smarter than the adults, Marcus replied, watching the babies play together. They don't know they're supposed to be afraid of humans. As the evacuation continued, Marcus learned more about the refugee community. They were scientists, artists, teachers, engineers, people who had grown tired of the endless cycle of war and conquest that had defined Drakmarian society for centuries. We came out here to build something different, Korvash explained as they watched transport shuttles ferry people between the station and the rescue ships. A society based on knowledge and creativity instead of military might. What will you do if we make it to the Kepler Nebula? Marcus asked. Rebuild, Korvash said simply. Create a new home where our children can grow up in peace. Teach them that there are better ways to live than constant conflict. Marcus looked at the three baby dragons who were now napping in a pile near his feet. What about them? Will they remember any of this? Dragons have very long memories, Korvash replied. These hatchlings will remember the human who saved them, and the day when two species chose cooperation over fear. That memory will shape who they become. 12 hours into the evacuation, everything went wrong. Contact bearing 37 Mark II. Rodriguez Martinez's voice crackled over the radio. It's a Drakmarian scout ship. Marcus rushed to his sensor station. A single ship had appeared at the edge of scanner range, moving fast toward their position. Is it one of Grimthorn's? Sarah Kim asked over the channel. Negative, Marcus replied, studying the ship's configuration. Wrong design. This is something else. The scout ship continued its approach, but instead of attacking, it transmitted a message on an open frequency. Human vessels. This is Captain Vex Morthen of the Drakmarian Free Fleet. We know what you're doing here, and we want to help. Marcus and Korvash exchanged glances. Neither of them had heard of a free fleet. Captain Morthen, Marcus replied cautiously. Identify yourself. What is the Free Fleet? Drakmarians who reject Grimthorn's tyranny, came the response. We've been fighting his forces for months, trying to protect civilians from his brutality. When we learned about his attack on this station, we came to evacuate survivors. And how do we know you're telling the truth? Jake Morrison's voice cut in. There was a pause, then Captain Morthen transmitted what appeared to be tactical data. Fleet positions, ship configurations, movement patterns. These are Grimthorn's battle plans, Morthen explained. We intercepted them 3 days ago. His main fleet will arrive in 6 hours, not 18. You need to leave now. Marcus felt ice form in his veins. 6 hours wasn't enough time to evacuate everyone. How many people are still on the station? He asked Korvash. 43 adults, 12 young ones, Korvash replied grimly. The transport shuttles are moving as fast as they can, but not fast enough, Marcus finished. Captain Morthen's ship moved closer, and Marcus could see it clearly now. It was smaller than a typical Drakmarian warship, but heavily armed. Battle scars covered its hull, evidence of recent combat. I have a proposal, Morthen's voice came through the radio. My ship and 2 others can provide rearguard action when Grimthorn arrives. That will buy you time to complete the evacuation. You'd fight your own people for us? Sarah Kim asked. Grimthorn's followers are not my people, Morthen replied firmly. My people are the ones who choose peace over conquest, knowledge over ignorance. The same ones you're risking your lives to save. Marcus made a decision that surprised even himself. Captain Morthen, this is Marcus Chen. I'm coordinating the rescue operation. Are you willing to work under human command? There was a long pause. During the war, no Drakmarian had ever taken orders from a human. Marcus Chen, Morthen said finally. I know that name. You're the one who saved the Nethys hatchlings. How did you... Word spreads quickly among the Free Fleet. What you did gave hope to many of my people. It showed us that cooperation between our species is possible. Morthen paused. I would be honored to serve under your command. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Morthen's 3 ships took up defensive positions around the station, while the evacuation continued. Marcus coordinated shuttle runs, cargo transfers, and medical evacuations with an efficiency he didn't know he possessed. The baby dragons seemed to sense the tension. They stayed close to Marcus and Corvash, making soft, worried sounds when alarms went off. It's going to be okay, Marcus told them, though he wasn't sure he believed it himself. With 2 hours remaining before Grimthorn's arrival, they faced their worst crisis yet. One of the transport shuttles suffered engine failure, while carrying 8 Drakmarian civilians. The shuttle was stranded halfway between the station and the rescue ships, too far from either to reach safety. This is Shuttle 7. The pilot's voice crackled through static. Main engines are dead. Maneuvering thrusters only. Marcus looked at his tactical display. Grimthorn's advance scouts would arrive any minute. If they detected the stranded shuttle. Jake, can your ship reach them? Marcus asked. Negative, Jake replied. My cargo hauler is too slow and too big to maneuver in that debris field. Marcus studied the shuttle's position, calculating distances and approach vectors. His salvage ship was small and maneuverable, designed for exactly this kind of rescue operation. I'm going after them, Marcus announced. Marcus, no, Corvash said urgently. If Grimthorn's scouts arrive while you're away from the fleet, then you'll have to leave without me, Marcus replied, already moving toward his ship's control station. I can't abandon those people. As Marcus prepared to undock from the command vessel, the silver baby dragon made a distressed chirping sound. It seemed to understand that he was leaving, and it didn't want him to go. Take care of them, Marcus told Corvash. If something happens to me, make sure they remember that not all humans are their enemies. Marcus's ship shot away from the fleet toward the stranded shuttle. Behind him, he could see the rescue ships beginning to move away from the station, preparing to jump to hyperspace. As soon as everyone was aboard, he just hoped he would be fast enough to save the stranded civilians and rejoin the fleet before Grimthorn's forces arrived. But even as he flew toward the disabled shuttle, Marcus's sensors detected new contacts at the edge of the system. Large ships moving fast with energy signatures that matched Drakmarian military vessels. Grimthorn had arrived early. Marcus reached the stranded shuttle just as Grimthorn's fleet emerged from hyperspace. 8 massive Drakmarian warships bristling with weapons and radiating menace across the void. Compared to the graceful refugee station, they looked like mechanical predators. Shuttle 7, this is Marcus Chen, he called to the disabled craft. Prepare for emergency docking. Human ship, this is dangerous, the shuttle pilot replied. You should save yourself. Nobody gets left behind, Marcus said firmly, maneuvering his ship alongside the shuttle. That's what makes us different from Grimthorn. As Marcus worked to connect his ship's docking tube to the shuttle, he watched his tactical display with growing concern. Grimthorn's fleet was moving fast toward the station, and his rescue fleet was still evacuating the last civilians. Marcus, Captain Morthen's voice came through the radio. My ships are moving to intercept Grimthorn's advance vessels. We'll buy you as much time as we can. 3 smaller Drakmarian ships shot past Marcus's position, heading directly for Grimthorn's fleet. They were outnumbered nearly 3 to 1, but they didn't hesitate. Marcus finished the docking procedure and began transferring the stranded civilians to his ship. They were families mostly, adults carrying young dragons who looked terrified by all the chaos around them. Is everyone safe? One of the adult dragons asked in broken standard as Marcus helped her aboard. Safe as I can make you, Marcus replied. We're getting you out of here. But even as he spoke, he could see weapon discharges lighting up space in the distance. Morthen's ships had engaged Grimthorn's forces, and the battle was not going well for the smaller vessels. "All rescue ships, this is Jake Morrison." His friend's voice crackled over the radio. "Final shuttle has docked. We're ready to jump, go," Marcus transmitted back. "Don't wait for me." "Like hell," Jake replied. "We're not leaving without you." Marcus felt a surge of gratitude and terror. His friends were risking everything to wait for him, but every second they delayed put more lives in danger. He sealed the docking tube and fired his engines, racing back toward the fleet. The shuttle passengers huddled in his cargo bay, protected by emergency force fields but clearly frightened. One of the young dragons, barely bigger than the 3 babies he had rescued, looked up at Marcus with large golden eyes. "Are you the human who saved the lost hatchlings?" she asked in surprisingly clear standard. "Yes," Marcus replied, surprised. "How did you know?" "Everyone knows," the young dragon said. "You're famous among our people. You showed us that humans can be kind." Marcus felt the weight of that statement as he pushed his ship to its maximum speed. He wasn't just rescuing these specific people anymore. He was proving something important about what humans could be. "Contact bearing 14 Mark 7. Rodriguez Martinez's voice cut through the radio chatter. "Grimthorn's flagship is breaking off from the main fleet. It's heading straight for us." Marcus looked at his tactical display and felt his heart sink. Grimthorn's flagship was a massive dreadnought, easily 3 times the size of the largest ship in the rescue fleet. If it caught them before they could jump to hyperspace, "All ships emergency jump preparation," Marcus ordered. "Don't wait for full power. Jump as soon as you can." One by one, ships began disappearing from his sensors as they jumped to hyperspace. But some were still trapped, their jump drives not ready yet. Marcus's ship reached the edge of the fleet formation just as Grimthorn's flagship opened fire. Massive energy beams lanced through space, barely missing Jake's cargo hauler. "Jake, get out of here," Marcus shouted into his radio. "Not without you," Jake replied stubbornly. Marcus was about to argue when another voice cut across the communication channel. A deep, commanding voice that made everyone fall silent. "This is War Master Grimthorn," the voice said in accented standard. "Human vessels, you have stolen Drakmarian property. Surrender immediately or be destroyed." Marcus looked at the families huddled in his cargo bay, at the frightened young dragons who had done nothing wrong except be born into a species torn by civil war. "War Master Grimthorn," Marcus replied, his voice steady despite his fear. "These are not property. They are people seeking safety from a war they want no part of." "They are traitors and cowards," Grimthorn snarled. "And you are an alien meddling in affairs that do not concern you." "You're wrong," Marcus said. "This concerns all of us. Every species that wants to live in peace instead of constant war." As he spoke, Marcus noticed something on his sensors. The 3 baby dragons from the asteroid cave were on one of the other ships, but their transport pods were transmitting some kind of signal. "What are they doing?" Marcus asked Korvash over a private channel. I am not certain," Korvash replied, sounding confused. "The hatchlings appear to be accessing the station's communication array." Suddenly, every screen in the fleet lit up with the same image. It was footage from Marcus's original recording, showing him caring for the sick baby dragon in the asteroid cave. But it wasn't just being broadcast to the rescue fleet. The signal was being transmitted across the entire system, including to Grimthorn's forces. Marcus watched in amazement as the baby dragon somehow took control of the communication networks. They were showing everyone the moment when a human chose compassion over fear, when someone decided that helping children was more important than old hatreds. On Grimthorn's flagship, "The firing stopped. What trickery is this?" Grimthorn's voice demanded. "No trickery," Marcus replied. "Just truth. Those are the hatchlings I found dying in an asteroid cave. Watch how they take care of each other. Watch how they trust someone who could have been their enemy." The footage continued, showing the babies playing together, comforting their sick sibling, gradually learning to trust Marcus. It showed the moment when he decided to risk everything to save them. For several minutes, space was silent except for the transmission. Then, one by one, Marcus heard new voices on the communication channels. "War Master," one of Grimthorn's ship captains said hesitantly. "Those are just children." "The human could have killed them," another voice added. "During the war, any of us would have. But he chose to save them instead." "Silence," Grimthorn roared. "They are enemies. All humans are enemies." But Marcus could hear doubt in the voices of Grimthorn's forces. The footage was having an effect. Captain Morthen's voice cut through the confusion. Warmaster Grimthorn, I call upon the ancient law of Thekmora, trial by personal combat to determine the fate of these refugees. There was a sharp intake of breath across the communication channels. Marcus had no idea what Thekmora meant, but it was clearly significant. You dare invoke the old laws, traitor? Grimthorn snarled. I invoke the right of any Drakmarian to challenge tyranny, Morthen replied firmly. Single combat between champions. If you win, the refugees surrender. If I win, they go free. Marcus watched his tactical display as two ships broke away from their respective fleets and moved toward each other. Ancient ritual was about to decide the fate of hundreds of lives. The battle was brief but fierce. Both ships were heavily damaged by the time it ended, but only one was still moving. Champion Morthen is victorious, came an announcement from one of Grimthorn's own ships. The refugees are free to go. Marcus couldn't believe it. They had won, not through superior firepower or clever tactics, but because 3 baby dragons had shown an entire fleet what compassion looked like. All rescue ships, jump coordinates locked in, Jake Morrison announced. See you on the other side, one by one. The rescue fleet disappeared into hyperspace, carrying hundreds of refugees toward a new home in the Kepler Nebula. As Marcus's ship made the jump, he looked back at the cargo bay where the young dragons were settling down to sleep. The silver baby from the asteroid cave had somehow managed to escape its transport pod and was curled up against Marcus's leg, purring softly. You did something amazing today, Marcus told the little dragon. You helped save your people. 3 months later, Marcus stood on the observation deck of New Hope Station, watching Drakmarian and human children play together in the station's central park. The Kepler Nebula shimmered outside the transparent walls, its colorful gases providing a spectacular backdrop. The refugee community had thrived in their new home. Human volunteers had helped them build habitats and workshops, while Drakmarian knowledge had improved the station's technology beyond anything Marcus had imagined possible. The 3 baby dragons, now noticeably larger, were teaching human children how to weave light patterns with their claws. The silver one, who the humans had started calling Spark, had become something of a celebrity throughout human space. Marcus, Corvash approached, now wearing the robes of the community's elected leader. The council has finished reviewing the application, and, Marcus asked, 47 human families have requested permission to settle permanently on New Hope Station. Corvash replied with what might have been a smile. It seems your species finds our way of life appealing. Marcus watched a human girl show Spark how to build sandcastles, while the young dragon demonstrated how to use controlled flame to create glass sculptures. I think, Marcus said quietly, this is what the galaxy was supposed to look like all along.